Broadcasting live on WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, iHeartRadio, and the World Wide Web. This is Make America Think Again with your Google Blacklisted host, Tom Trento.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson. Danger.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Trento Hour. This is Susie Gold. And we are continuing on our mission.
1-1. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, everybody? I need somebody to tell me. Text me if you can hear me or can't hear me.
Can you hear
we had
us?
A little glitch with Susie
Are we
Gold.
on?
All right. We're going to have to go to a commercial. WNN, go to a commercial, and we'll come back. See what's happening.
Change anything?
Let's see. Thanks. Can you hear? Let's see. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? We're floating out here on an island. Can you hear us?
I'm not getting any messages here.
Well, they're probably waiting for it to start. I'm going to talk, assuming people can hear us.
We have a big idea today.
We have a
Do you
great
know what
show
our big
today.
idea is? Even if it's for you and me, you and I and you. We have a great big idea.
You're going. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a big idea today, and here it is, November 20th. It's a Friday. We're going to be entering into Shabbat. So over the weekend, we have something that we want our listeners to think about, and that is our big idea. We are going to be talking about Microsoft, that's MS, NBC, right? You have MSNBC, Microsoft, NBC, they joined, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, and even Fox, that they are all, did you know, they are all scripted in the same way, the same maliciously crafted talking points. And what we want you to know is those talking points are crafted so that they become champions of Joe Biden and the Marxist Democrat Party. Therefore, we implore you not to listen to them. And we have discussed that before when Peter Feynman has been on, and he's the committee man for Florida. He said, don't listen to the media. They're all crafted with the same dialogue, which is pro-Biden, anti-Trump, pro-socialism, pro-Marxism. So we beg you, don't listen to them.
You don't want me to listen to them?
Don't listen to them. Listen to
Well,
us.
let me qualify that a little bit. We have to listen because they're the enemy force, the opposition.
Right.
So we listen, but don't believe them.
Don't believe them.
Don't listen and don't believe what they're saying. You know, some of my friends and even family members, if I'm watching CNN or MSNBC here or at their house or whatever, turn that thing off. I can't stand that. They're repelled by it, and they should be.
Right.
It's become so bad, so horrendously bad. And that's our big idea. If you're going to deal with a legacy media, legacy is the term that means the traditional media, as opposed to the new media, as opposed to the new media. If you're going to listen to the legacy media, don't believe them. In fact, turn it off. Go watch something else. What do you watch?
It's just like commentary.
What do you watch?
So
in your
I
spare
am
time?
watching now Newsmax.
No, I mean, you get away from the news.
Oh, to get away from the news?
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not much of a TV watcher. I loved Fauda, but I watched till the end. That was great. And I loved Queen of the South.
But do you watch like cooking shows or sewing shows or Hallmark?
I like to cook and I like to sew, but I'm not much of a TV watcher. The TV's not really on in my house.
She, I found out, is an artiste.
Yeah.
An artiste. We're going to show some of your work next week on this show, and I'm going to auction them off.
Okay.
Donations for the United West.
You know what? I would be willing to do that.
There.
I would. But we'd have to start a starting price.
I'm talking up there, artiste.
Yeah.
Serious stuff.
Yes.
Unbelievable stuff. You'll see next week. Tom Trento, your host, with Susie Gold here, 909. And she's right. Don't listen to all these legacy people. They're a problem. Well, how do we know they're a problem? I'm going to show you right now on WNN 1470 AM 95.3. Or if you're walking around, take us with you.
Mhm.
They can take us in their pocket.
Mhm.
They can put us on their computer. The easiest way is iHeartRadio.
Mhm.
I love radio, iHeartRadio. You go there, you download the app, you search for WWNN 1470 South Florida. Boom. You don't need to, I mean, you may have to give them an email or something, but there's no cost to it.
Mhm.
And now you have crystal clear Susie, Gold, Tom, Trento every morning, 9 to 10, weekday mornings. And if you want to watch this, where do they go?
Or what you could do is go to the unitedwest.org, and then you just scroll down teeny weeny little bit, and you'll see us live. So and also you could look at prior shows. So and then you could do that by Googling on YouTube as well. So you could see us, you could listen to us, you could watch us, and you can know that the information that you get here is accurate information. What you're getting on all these other networks, it's commentary, and they are fed this information because if you go to any of those stations and you listen, as we do, because you do have to know what other people are saying, so that we can then have a conversation about it. But they all have the same dialogue, the same words they use. It's all well crafted. It's all a dialogue that is just pro-Biden, and they all speak the same: anti-Trump, anti-capitalism. And this is all they're getting paid to say this. It's not news anymore.
We're gonna illustrate our point right now. We have a clip that is fresh off the TV because we just taped it 10 minutes ago, and we're going to show you this. First, I'm going to give you a little introduction to it. And then we're going to show it. We're going to stop it about halfway. I'm on the TUW radio team. I don't see anything. Okay, where am I supposed to look?
It says, "Let's go."
Who? I didn't hear you.
Just play it through the phone.
Oh, play it through the phone. Oh. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. Look. Live radio. We have a lot of moving parts because we're producing a television show. We have an audio glitch somewhere, but not on the radio right now. So I'm going to play the audio portion for you in a moment to illustrate our point. But I think we have a phenomenal guest coming up.
We do.
I don't think we have any guests today, do we?
Well, he could call in through the phone. We don't want to miss him.
We could try that.
Yeah, we're very creative.
Yeah,
here.
we're creative.
We work on a very minimal budget.
Look,
we figure it out.
Last Friday was what date? Today's the 20th, -7.
7, so it was the 13th.
Triskaidekaphobia.
It was
remember?
Triskaidekaphobia.
Flawless day, no problems, beautiful. We had a big party, the whole thing.
Right.
A week later, everything's going to hell.
Look at that. Why did that happen?
That's all right. We can
figure it out.
So we may have a guest in a little bit. We'll figure that out. But tell the folks what we did yesterday, what's going to happen tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So what we did is there he is. We have our guest. What we did yesterday is we have been very fortunate. And you know what? We do the work that we do. We're recognized for what we do. And there's others that want us. And because of what's going on in Georgia, we have a senatorial runoff race. There are 2 Marxists basically against 2 Republican senators. And we want to make sure that the Georgians are aware of what's going on and what the significance is of this race, not just for Georgia, but it's for the entire country, because this race will determine whether there will be a Senate majority that is Republican or whether we are going to move all the way far to the left. And there is no checks and balances then. And that's why we also have the House of Representatives. That's why we have the Senate and we have the president, so that there are checks and balances, because there are different opinions on how we should guide this country. So that's why that race. efforts and the efforts of the organizations that we are closely aligned with, there were almost 500,000 more voters in Florida than in our history. So we're very successful in getting Christians out to vote, which they traditionally didn't vote, and now they are voting. So Georgia is largely a Christian state. There are 10 million Georgians. We are reaching out to 8 million of them that are mostly Christian. There are some Jews, but to help them understand what is at risk this election and to make sure that they go out and vote wisely. So with that being said, we are going to now be airing on Saturday in Georgia from 4 to 5 p.m. And we are going to be on
9:20 the answer.
9:20
a.m.
the answer. WGKA-AM. And so we did tape that show yesterday.
We taped it. It's a taped show. Yeah.
Yep. And it will air then on Saturday. So we're really fortunate to have
cool.
that venue in order to share accurate news and accurate information.
And it costs money to secure the time. So go and donate, please. We'll do a little bit of that in a moment.
Yeah,
but I want to get into
desperately need funds. You know what we do? We have great ideas. We have great methods. We have a great group of talented individuals, and it takes the money in order to really make it happen. So we can have all the ideas in the world, but if we don't have the funds to do it, guess what? We won't be able to do it. So we need you to go on to theunitedwest.org and donate to make it happen. And I know there's a lot of organizations out there that are looking for funds, but this is something that you can truly have a direct impact on not only Georgia, but for the entire country.
Yeah, absolutely. And Georgia is the key critical battleground state. And we have 46 days to make that happen, January 5th.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me lay out now the context for this cultural battle we're having and our big idea. The big idea is something that we want to leave with each viewer or listener that impacts your behavior, your understanding. Make America think again behind Susie Gold's head over there. There you go. There you go. And we do that by presenting that which is true, that which is in accord with reality. I wrote my master's thesis on truth, actually. So truth is that which is in accord with reality. And when you present truthfully the facts, an individual who's trying to be truthful and objective can put the pieces together and see the facts leading to that which is true. Well, over on the other side, our big idea, the legacy media, has abandoned truth-telling, truth-seeking, truth in any capacity. They are apologists or champions for Joe Biden and the Marxist Democrat Party. How do we know? We're going to show you right now, and you're going to listen. Here's what happened. Yesterday, there was an unhinged, I'm going to read some of the words. Unhinged, bizarre. I'm getting all kinds of crazy feedback. We can't have that. You got to kill that. Yeah, we don't need that. A bizarre, yesterday there was a press conference. You and I were watching it in the studio.
We were watching it, yep.
A bizarre, unhinged, stunt. More evidence for UFOs, clown show. Those are words by the media, including UFOs that Tucker Carlson said. Those were words by the media referring to Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell's press conference and Jenna Ellis as an opening statement for developing their prima facie case, their facts on the face, facts in front of the court. That was yesterday. And they are going nuts. The legacy media today, are going nuts. And all you have to do, and I'm going to show you and let you listen to this piece. We're not going to show it to you because just going to let you listen to it. All you have to do is listen to what I'm going to show you. Morning Joe with Mika is an interesting combination. Hot off the press, just 15 minutes ago or so. But I'm going to preface what we're going to let you listen to with 3 questions. I'm not a lawyer. I was headed to law school, but I decided to study God's law. If you understand that, you're more adept and equipped than a lawyer. I've had a lot of opportunities to be in discussion presenting facts. So what I would do in a case against Joe and Mika, because you're going to listen to them, I would ask them 3 guiding questions. I'm going to lay it out for the audience to consider these 3 questions. We're going to play about a minute. I'm going to stop. I'm going to restate the questions. Then we're going to play it again. Then we're going to sum up the questions. Now, do we have our guest capable of hearing our guest, or are we still glitched out? Okay, I can't hear him.
We could read lips.
He can't read lips.
There he goes. I think I heard something. Hi, Trevor. Good morning.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Susie. Hi, Tom.
Nice to see you.
That's not
we could
bad.
work with a delay.
That's not bad. We could deal with that.
So happy that you joined us, Trevor. Thank you.
Well,
for
it's a
coming
pleasure.
on.
All right, Trevor, I want you to listen to Morning Joe and Mika. And here's my 3 contextual questions. If I were in a courtroom and I was defending the president and they were the plaintiff making their case against the president, which they do on their show, you're going to hear it, I would ask this first question. Joe, Mika, is it possible, theoretically possible, any possibility under the sun that election fraud occurred in 2020? Is it possible? Kind of a trick question, because when you lay out a question like that in the world of philosophy, you've got to conclude what? What do you have to conclude?
Well, either there was.
Is it theoretically possible there could be fraud in the 2020
Could it have
election?
occurred?
Is it possible? You have to conclude yes. Okay, I want yes or no answers. You got to go, yeah, but yes.
Yes.
My second question: does President Trump have a constitutional right to present his case to the court to expose what he believes was fraudulent election activity?
Yes.
Does he have a constitutional right to do that?
Yes.
All right, so we've established there could be fraud. We established he has a constitutional right. My third question is, Joe and Mika, please explain to me why President Trump should be denied his constitutional right. This is a fabulous question because it pits their political championing of the Marxist Party and Joe Biden up against an individual's fundamental constitutional right. Now let's listen to this. We're going to do it by listening to it on the recorder we have right here. If I can remember the combination to get into my own phone. Here we go. All right, listen up carefully, Joe and Mika. She's such a nitwit, this lady, but
unbelievable. But she reads a script.
Well, you can get in his brain and know what he's thinking right now. This is such ugly flailing, and he knows it. It's a bad show. Trump likes to have his reality shows, his pageants with the lights, and it's glossy, and it's dramatic, and it's colorful, and it's beautiful. What happened yesterday, I can't say what it was, because it's not a word I can say on television, but it wasn't a good show. No one would want to watch this again. And I couldn't even watch us as we were bumping into it at the top of the show today. Stop, Alex.
No,
Alex.
that's what it was. That's what it was.
Right now.
And by the way, that's a reflection of Ivanka. That's a reflection of Jared. That's a reflection of their children. They are sitting back quietly,
Embarrassed.
sending out beauty shots of I don't know, landscapes or whatever they're sending out beauty shots of. Well, her father is doing everything he can to undermine American democracy
in the ugliest way possible.
Okay. Her father, about Ivanka, is doing everything he can in the ugliest way possible to undermine democracy.
Yeah.
All right. I'll restate, Mika and Joe. Is it possible that fraud occurred? Yes. Does Trump have a constitutional right to do it? Yes.
Yes.
Explain why that right should be denied, that constitutional right. We're gonna ask Trevor to take Joe and Mika's side in a moment. I want him to listen to the rest of this, but Trevor's a smart guy. Trevor Loudon is our distinguished guest. And we're going to, he has no idea that we're setting this up. We're going to ask him to
But he could roll with it.
assume the spirit of Joe and Mika and make a case why Donald Trump should not exercise his constitutional right. But let's go back to the piece. Here we go.
But how am I going to have a lobotomy in the next 3 seconds?
Great.
And more votes than any candidate has ever received in the history of this constitutional republic. And yet, the name Trump is going to be synonymous for generations to come for undermining American democracy, trying to undermine the results of an election and the wishes of 80 million people.
And dripping spray on hair. Coming up, Rhode Island is
That was that was nasty.
Yeah, about Giuliani.
Oh, so she should negate everything because of dripping hair.
His hair, yeah, of course.
That's just
those
nasty.
are ad hominem arguments. You ad hominem, you go after the homo sapien, the man. ad
Yeah,
hominem.
so they went
So,
after him because he perspires.
That was funny with Giuliani. But here's what we have at 9:25 in the morning. Tom Trento, Susie Gold, Jay Mark, and our dear friend, our guest, Trevor Loudon. What we have just set up for our listening audience is a classic cultural, philosophical, and communication conflict that is indicative of the problem going forward in this country, with two different worldviews being articulated by two different groups of people, about 75 million people on each side, but I think there's way more of us than them. These people, they have a show. They have influence. They're influencers, Joe and Mika, Morning Joe. They have just said that Donald Trump is doing everything he possibly can vis-a-vis the press conference where there was a presentation of some evidence, not all of it, because you put your evidence in court. You don't care what jerks, in the media jerks or anyone else thinks about it. They said Donald Trump exercising his constitutional right is undermining democracy. The floor is yours, Trevor. What's Joe's last name? What's Joe's last name? Scarborough. Trevor Scarborough, make the case why Donald Trump should not exercise his constitutional right.
Because Donald Trump is a fascist, and therefore fascists have no rights. Fascists are haters and evil people. And to allow fascism to dominate the American political discourse would be a sin against the future generations. This is the Hogan's Heroes. This is the Hogan's Heroes mentality. Remember how we used to love Hogan's Heroes?
Right.
And we would cheer on Hogan and his people when he lied to the Nazis, when he stole from the Nazis, when he killed the Nazis, when he deceived the Nazis, because it was right to deceive and kill and cheat Nazis, because Nazis are horrible people. So if you can say that 75 million Americans are Nazis, the only moral response is to cheat and lie and deceive those Nazis.
All right, hang on, Trevor. That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was too good.
I'm envisioning you, Trevor, me and you in a debate in front of 2,000 university students. And when you said that, 1,999 are jumping up, cheering, buying your argument that Trump is a fascist,
right?
A syllogism. Fascists are evil, therefore Trump doesn't have constitutional rights. Let me open it up for Mark and Susie here for a minute. Then we'll get back to more insight from Trevor Loudon at 9:28 in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Trento, Susie Gold, Trevor Loudon's our guest. We'll introduce him a little bit later.
Yep.
I think everybody knows about him. And,
Well, we want to give him
we're taking a look as we blast off
proper
on this
introduction.
Yeah, we'll do that a little bit after this on the Sabbath day of going into the weekend. We want you to recognize you ought not, if you watch the legacy, the traditional old-time media, you can do that, but don't believe them. Don't believe a word they say. They have sold their soul to Satan. They really have. And it's evidenced by what we're hearing there. Mark, Susie, weigh in. What do you think
I got a
about
question
Morning
for Trevor.
Joe and,
I got a question for
Trevor's
Trevor.
defense of Trevor Scarborough's defense of his brother Joe.
So what
Trevor,
we have is we have prominent attorneys, and there was actually they almost got away with it, right? The Biden campaign, and they almost got away with it. But what happened was there was such a landslide of votes that went towards Trump that the Dominion software blew up because there was so many of those ballots that counted for Trump. So they had to shut down the computers quickly in the night, go in with trucks, and make sure that they then could make sure that there was a landslide for Biden. So clearly, and this was found by mistake, right? It wasn't even, that was how it was exposed. That was how it was uncovered. So what happens in a free society is you have the right to bring forward to court some real hard evidence to show that this was not a free and fair election. So now we have these two anchors who are given a script, and it's like, hey, we're on Biden's side, so we got to totally blow Trump out of the water. We got to blow these attorneys out of the water, because you know what? We have to defame them. We have to make sure that people aren't going to listen to them. So we're going to make fun of him, sweating. We're going to call him all kinds of names, and that now they believe in UFOs. And it's like, you know what? And it's what we're doing is we're moving away from the actual issue.
Yep.
And the issue is, was this a free and fair election?
Does he have a constitutional right?
And does he have a constitutional right?
Mark,
so now we have evidence.
Yeah, actually, I have a question. Trevor, what do you want to say about this whole stuff? What is your main takeaway? I mean, whatever subject you want to bring up about this whole election thing, what is it? What's the main thing that you want people to take away from here?
Well, people need to understand we are in the middle of a communist revolution. And, we have the idea of objective truth and honesty. We look at truth as it is. A communist believes the only truth is what serves the revolution. So we are in this revolution. So these people, their only goal is to get the message out there that serves the revolution. So what is Trump doing? He is trying to stop the revolution. So any message must be geared to discrediting him, to making everything he says unjustified, ridiculing him, because he is a reactionary fascist force. This is seriously where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's a lot, Trevor, for people who are driving in their cars, whether it's on I-95 or A1A or in Miami or in Palm Beach or up north. We are in the midst of a communist revolution. But look, if you listen to this show, if you listen to people in the know, if you listen to subject matter experts like Trevor and ourselves and others, we can substantiate the fact that there is clearly a revolution going on by the words of the people on the other side of the revolution. So all we have to say is, okay, revolutionaries, Black Lives, Antifa, the Democrat Socialists of America, the Democrat Socialist Caucus in the United States government, this revolution you're referring to, what's the philosophical foundation and motivation for it? We have to ask them to define it. And then when you squeeze them enough, you'll see it's coming out of the tradition of Marx, of Mao, of the historic anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-God revolutionaries, Castro. And I want to talk to you before you leave. We know you got to leave in a little bit. I want to talk to you about Reverend Raphael Warnock and the revolution he's fighting. But going back to the press conference yesterday, where regardless of the theatrics of it, how people have perceived it, on the substance of it, Sidney Powell is no second-rate lawyer. She's a top lawyer, as is Giuliani. Giuliani took down the mob in New York.
That's right.
Sidney busted through the FBI with Michael, what's his name? How can I forget? General Flynn, Michael Flynn, busted through that and got Flynn off. You're going to see he's got, these are substantial people. Alan Dershowitz has weighed in on this, and he says there is a path. This press conference could in fact turn this election around, and he argues constitutionally Article 2. He simply says that if the work of this legal team, Sidney and DeGirona and others, Jenna Ellis, if the work of this legal team puts enough doubt in the minds of the electors in certain states that their election process was wrought with fraud, they got to present evidence. But if they can do that and have the electors back out of certifying in 1 month from now their state, then guess what? Those electoral votes don't get counted in the overall number. If you can drop that number to 269, 268, now you got a problem. You got two people, both Trump and Biden, with not enough electoral votes to become president. What the hell do you do? Dershowitz says you go to Article 2, and essentially cutting through all the legal stuff, it's kicked to the House of Representatives. Each state gets a vote. There's more Republican states than Democrat states. Thank God for the Electoral College. Donald Trump is elected president again based upon the work. If they can present the evidence and make their case, he's elected again through another way in which the framers said, could be a problem here. And they gave us a way out, and that's a legitimate path forward. Man, what's going to happen to the revolutionaries? And that has to go to the Supreme Court. That will be heard by the Supreme Court. Trevor, I'll ask you, what's going to happen to the Marxist revolutionaries if indeed on the 14th of December, the Supreme Court says, it kicks it back to the states a week or two later, the states declare Donald Trump the president, the House of Representatives. What's going to happen to the cultural Marxists in this country?
Well, we could have a very tumultuous Christmas. Look, I think there will be violence, but I don't know if it's going to be as bad as we might have expected, because I think the left will be very deflated. I think a lot of them will give up, and they'll be very divided. So we expected violence after the election, but because the result was so indeterminate, the left were really divided amongst themselves. I watched their stuff. They really didn't know what to do, and they still don't know what to do. And I think they realize that if Trump wins again, they'll be very dispirited, and a lot of them will realize that if they go on the streets and they create merry hell, they're going to go to jail for a very long time. And I don't know if they're prepared for that.
So let me ask you a question. What are your thoughts about Warnock and where he stands in this election in Georgia? And, we know what his history is.
Well, look, Warnock is problematic for a number of ways. He was the president of Stacey Abrams' group, New Georgia Project, which is part of a pro-Chinese communist voter registration network all around the country. New Florida majority, New Virginia majority, Lucha, Bold in Wisconsin. So he was part of this Maoist network. But if you look at his history, he goes back, he was a protege of Calvin Butts from the Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York, the man who invited Castro to speak at his church. But it's way worse than that. Calvin Butts is a very deep communist sympathizer going back decades. He talks about what he did openly. He talks about what he did when Martin Luther King was assassinated. He had Molotov cocktails. He was a member of a Marxist group then, Pride. People together to defend Ebony or something. It was a Marxist revolutionary group. They had the material for Molotov cocktails ready to go. Even before they heard about the assassination, they went out and burnt several shops to the ground. They tried to burn a church to the ground, and they terrorized white people in cars. This is what he admits to have been doing. He is very closely associated with Ruby Dee and Ozzie Davis and many other Communist Party supporters. But then the other mentor to
Wait,
Warnock.
hang on one second, Trevor. For the sake of our audience, we have Trevor Loudon. Give a little intro.
Yeah, so we're so happy to have you, Trevor. And just by way of introduction, for those that don't know who you are, Trevor is, first of all, he has this wonderful accent because he's from New Zealand.
Southern accent.
Southern accent.
Beautiful accent.
deep
He's an
South.
author, a speaker, a political activist. He's a blogger. He's authored, he self-published some books on U.S. politics. He was featured in a 2016 documentary titled Enemies Within. And he also writes for a wonderful paper called the Epic Times, which I am so proud that I get the Epic Times and I get their emails daily and read your articles. So we're so happy that we had you on, Trevor. And we know that you have a few more minutes with us, so we don't want to delay you.
The point I was going to make, then Mark has a question. You're talking about Reverend Butts out of Abyssinian Church in New York.
Now, I was surprised to learn of his deep association and ties with Cone. And
before that, for the sake of the audience, we're talking about Reverend Raphael Warnock, who's running for the Senate in Georgia. He was what? What was his relationship to that church, Trevor?
Well, he was a youth pastor there for many years, but he's much more than that. Butts has spoken at Warnock's church in Georgia at least twice. But Butts, if you go to Butts's website, he's standing right in the front of it holding up Warnock's book. He endorsed Warnock. They're very, very close. It's a mentor protege relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship. So, Warnock was mentored by a hardcore Marxist communist. That's what Calvin Butts is.
But before that, I was surprised to learn because I was watching the Cone funeral, and he was going on and on and on how he grew up listening to Cone. He went to school, he became classmate. He thought he's the best teacher in the world, best teacher you've ever had, and just worshipped him. Yeah, that's even, I think, to me is, and explain to people who Cone is.
Well, that's right. See, this is the two mentors. One is Calvin Butts, the other one is James Cone. James Cone is really the father in this country of critical race theory. Now, what critical race theory is Marxism based on race rather than class. Because in America, class is not the traditional Marxism is the workers will rise up and destroy the capitalists, take their wealth. Well, that doesn't work very well in America because class is so mobile in America. You can start out dirt poor and end up very rich. You can start out very rich and end up dirt poor here. But race is always with you. So what Cone did, and he was an open Marxist. He wrote books like Marxism and the Black Church. What do they have to offer each other? He went to Cuba to meet Fidel Castro and a whole lot of Soviet religious fronts. And the man he took with him was a man called Jeremiah Wright. Some of you may have heard of him, Obama's pastor.
And Jesse Jackson.
And Jesse Jackson. So what it is instead of the workers overthrowing the capitalist bosses, critical race theory means if you're white, you're automatically part of the ruling class. You're intrinsically racist. So you're part of the white capitalist patriarchy, the white Christian capitalist patriarchy. So the only way you can really end racism is by ending the white Christian capitalist patriarchy, overthrowing the existing structures of society. So this is Marxist revolutionary talk, but it just focuses more on race than class. That's all it is. The guy is Warnock was mentored by two of the country's leading Marxists. And then he heads an organization that is part of a Maoist voter registration network directed by Communist China. He's a perfect candidate for the US Senate. Party, wouldn't you think?
Hey, let me complete the circle on this whole thing real quick.
Mark, we got him for 2 more minutes.
Yeah, okay. But you got to make this last final connection back to Georgia. Is Cone goes to Cuba to meet Fidel, and understanding he's running for president at this time. Jesse Jackson is. Okay. He's with Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson's right-hand man in this thing is Stephen Phillips, who later becomes a billionaire, who later finds Obama, who later comes back full circle, Power Pack USA, brings on Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams come back down. Am I correct on this whole?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Stacey Abrams is the man who is behind Warnock, the man who gets the votes out for Warnock.
Steve
So
Phillips.
this is a Steve Phillips is a Maoist. Jesse Jackson's student organizer. Steve Phillips becomes a very rich man, marries into a big fortune, uses that fortune to become very prominent in the Democratic Party, and uses that money to elect black Marxists and Latino Marxists to positions of office, starting with Obama, backed Andrew Gillum in Florida, almost got that. Got his friend Cory Booker elected to the US Senate, is completely behind Kamala Harris, who's now tries to be vice president, and very much behind Stacey Abrams, who almost became governor of Georgia. Stacey Abrams is the woman who gets all the votes out for Warnock. She's running Steve Phillips's operation in Georgia. This is a rainbow coalition Marxist strategy to flip the South blue, to destroy the Republican Party so the Democrats and their communist allies run America forever. That's what it is.
You said something very, very important. This is the Rainbow Coalition coming out of Jesse Jackson's same strategy as 1984 being implemented today through a doctrine called Brown is the New White, written by none other than Stephen Phillips. And we can't stress
on that happy note, on that happy note, Trevor, I know you have to get going. We'll have you back next week. We'll work out a time.
I've just got to go do a lecture on China's war on the South right now to a group of people.
There you go. Do well. We're gonna use you to in our Atlanta, Georgia show over the next 8 weeks. So study up, man. Learn this stuff. Get this stuff down.
Well, happy to be in the company. Happy to be in the company of patriots and intellectuals. You know, you put on a good show, Tom and Susie. So I'm happy to be part of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, hey, Susie.
I'm inviting back now.
All right, we'll see you, Trevor. You take care.
Okay, guys. Please.
Bye. Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
The original plan was to tape some segments today for our show in a couple of weeks because these are investigative segments. But that was too interesting. That stuff with Morning Joe and Mika, where they've just become now. How do you? I'm asking you guys this now at 9:46 in the morning. Tom Trento, your host. Here we are. Is this 9:20? Are we on 9:20? We're gonna get confused.
This is
no. I mean, are we on the Atlanta station? Or
no, we are on the.
We're doing the Florida
station.
show. Okay.
Yeah, 1470 AM, 96.9 FM, and 95.3 FM.
But for those of you just tuning in, we were able to secure 1 hour weekly. Cost a lot of money. 1 hour weekly and we don't even have the money. We secured it.
I know, but somehow people love what we're doing, and they know the only way that we can keep doing what we're doing is with their funds. So somehow, some way, we touch people's hearts. They go on the UnitedWest.org. They go and they push that donate button.
Yeah, $25, $50, and then there are people out there that write larger
thousands.
checks.
Sure, it takes thousands.
And, they can contact us if they don't want to go through the internet or whatever. But we're here. But we secured a 1 hour show on Saturdays. Big network, a big AM network. Dan Bongino's on it, Jay Sekulow, Larry Elder, Dennis Prager. Sebastian Gorka. There's a whole bunch of people. We're going to be on that network. It's a Salem network, which is a big media company. And we follow Dennis Prager on Saturday, 4 to 5. It's going to be a big lead-in audience. And the whole idea of the show, the big idea of the show is to do exactly what we did here in Florida, mobilize conservative Christians, conservative Jews, Latinos, blacks, our whole coalition to get out and vote a larger number to overcome the fraud, because yesterday the state of Georgia certified Joe Biden as the winner of that
Mhm.
state. And our contacts on the ground, including Mary, our dear colleague, says the revote's going to go through the same Dominion broken machines. What hope is there if they can push a button and say Warnock wins and Ossoff wins? So we're really going to have to look at that. We're going to have to question it. We're going to have to roll out more people, many more, hundreds of thousands more, to overcome the fraud element.
And
So-
understand the issues. Most people want to just live their life. They go to work, they want to put food on the table, they like their activities or TV, they will listen to music. And what we need to do is, with your help, because you have to be our emissaries, so get out and help educate, take the information you learn from us and teach people, because they don't understand what's at stake here. They watch the news and they don't look at it as that this is an opinion that is they're commentators and it's their opinion that makes it all right. They're reading a script.
Yeah.
They're reading a script that each of these
That's some
networks use
18-year-old
the
or
same
25-year-old.
words.
Yeah, exactly.
And when they are totally far to the left. And then we're talking about communism here. We're not making any kind of fluff, making anything up. They want to take over the country.
I want to challenge that. Okay.
Okay.
I want to challenge that. Here's how I want to challenge it. We opened the show letting everyone listen to Mika and Joe. Nice people, they got together, they got married,
so.
Whatever.
What world are you from, Tom? They're not nice people.
I don't know.
Are
if they're
these people
nice.
communist? Is Mika and Joe? Is Joe Scarborough? I ran an election in 1994 in California, the Newt Gingrich contract with America. Joe was one of the successful freshmen then, and we worked with Joe, and he was a great guy and everything. Has he become a commie? Is Joe Scarborough a commie? How could he say the exact same thing on his show this morning that the communists are saying if he's not a communist?
He just hates.
I
I think he
you
just
have to
hates
follow
Trump.
the money and say, where is his paycheck coming from? What is the political what's the political stance of that network? And they have to speak to that stance. So they're getting paid. This is the mantra. They're for Joe Biden. They called an office, the office of president-elect,
Yeah.
and there's even like a logo. Where the heck did that come from? This isn't even official yet. They did not carry the conversations from Sidney Powell or that whole press conference with Giuliani. They didn't cover it at all. Tell me this, is that a free and fair press? They're not covering the news. Did you know that in Boca Raton, there were 250 people that were outside of Smartmatic? They work with Dominion, which, by the way, Dominion has disappeared. Smartmatic, they had boarded up. They put their hurricane shutters and they just up and went. Where are these people? Are they covering that? Are they covering that 250 citizens were outside saying we want a free and fair election? So where's the news? Sorry.
Preach it, sister. I'm with you. Well, let's dive into Joe and Mika's psychology for a moment, because Trevor just laid out that there is a cultural revolution. We all agree. He has a Marxist, Maoist motivation and direction and funding. Joe and Mika this morning sounded exactly like a Black Lives Maoist, a Antifa communist. How could two intelligent people that are capitalists be articulating a communist talking point? Mark, how does that happen?
They hate Trump. That's the basic core.
That's
I think they
interesting.
hate Trump more than anything else. And plus, they're getting paid a lot of money to hate Trump. And they say, hey, just go out there and hate Trump. That's okay. That's all we need. I don't think they're Marxists. I've watched them for years. I don't think they're Marxists or Leninists, not even Mika, which is probably the more closest to the Marxist philosophy. I don't think she agrees with the Marxism. I don't think Joe does. I just think they hate Trump. And they're told to hate Trump. And the more they can hate Trump, the more they get paid.
That's very interesting, because Trump really screwed with them for years. Remember? I mean, he played games with them. So, all right, now let's follow this. Now we're in a class right now. It's 9:53 in the morning. Got a couple of minutes left. Everybody listening, we're gonna teach a lesson in psychology and philosophy right now, and political philosophy. That's where this is coming. We have Joe and Mika, who Mark, I think, effectively is arguing they're not communists, right? But they hate Trump. But they're saying the exact same thing that the real life communists are saying about the press conference and about Trump. So what we have is a nexus, a joining together of two different groups of people who may not even agree with one another, but they become, in the words of Marx and others, fellow travelers. Right. They become fellow travelers from the Marxist point of view. Joe and Mika are fellow travelers with us, not because they bought into the philosophy of Karl Marx, Marxism, communism, but because of the hatred they have for Donald Trump.
Well, to highlight
now,
that,
if you're a good Marxist, you take that hatred motivation, particularly out of 18, 19, 20-year-old, utopian-minded kids, and you say, let's work with that. Let's take that hatred and let's bring them in. Let's love them, bring them in our circle. Let's show them the truth over here. Now you've taken someone who maybe was winnable, and boom, they're indoctrinated into a Marxist enclave. And there goes the changing of America.
Well, one more point on that, Tom, is I don't think they're Marxists, and I don't think they're Muslims, and I don't think they are following Islam or Muhammad either. But they're backing and defending all the hard things that the Elon Omars say and everything else like that. Are they anti-Semites? I don't think so, but they're still backing the people who are. I mean, but where does culpability stop? I mean, that I support Hitler, does that make me, like Henry Ford? I mean, where does the culpability stop?
Very interesting point. All right, we're getting a little philosophical, which is good here. I mean, these are good things to understand going into the weekend.
Because we make America
think again. And I'll close us on this point. As Bible-believing people here in the United West, the Bible teaches, hate is a defective and destructive emotion, attitude. It tears you up. In fact, the New Testament teaches that you're not even supposed to hate your enemies. You're supposed to love your enemies. That's a whole nother Bible class that I'd love to teach. But if the bar is not to hate your enemies, then there's something inherently wrong with hate. And we'll argue, based upon what we've done today, that hatred is such a destructive force that it can take people that are seemingly nice, like Mika and Joe. Philosophically, we disagree, but they're not horrendous human beings. But this hatred can move them away from the truth and move them into the camp of people who are dastardly, destructive, deplorable individuals. They'd hate America. And Joe and Mika have a lot of splaining to do based upon the facts and the morality of what they hold to be as American citizens. Hatred is evil. Another lesson for this weekend as you go into it. Don't hate anybody. Stand on the truth. Love your friends, even love your enemies, but argue with them. Sometimes you have to kill your enemies in war. I mean, sometimes you have to actually kill them in conflicts between countries. That happens. See you next week.
See you Monday. Have a great Shabbat. Have a great weekend.